Good Friday. Somehow that good doesn't always sound like it was a Good Friday. You know, we know that what happens, but at the time it didn't look so good. The crucifixion was probably the most horrifying thing to ever watch. The darkest day. You know, nobody knew anything, but to see the Bible says that Jesus was beaten beyond recognition. So not only was he beaten horribly, but he took on the sin. People, when you're in sin, you don't look so pretty. You know what I mean? It changes your whole countenance. It changes your whole look. I'm sure you've heard stories of people go into prison, they get saved, they take their picture again because they look so different. But there's Jesus on the cross with every disease, every sickness, everything, and every sin. No wonder he was unrecognizable. You know, that's what he did for us. Where would you be? Sometimes I just have to pause and go, where would I be without Jesus? I would look behind me and my life would be a wreckage all the way up till today. I would have made very bad decisions. I would have done very bad things. I would be full of pride because I'm just such a great person. I would be so self-centered. And God rescued me out of all that. And I wasn't even looking for him. He was looking for me. I've written this as the story of the crucifixion through 5 eyewitnesses who was there. From their perspective, you know, you got to sometimes have to fill in between, you know, why was Barabbas so hateful or what pulled this one away. And so I wrote this, but I wanted to explain to some of the kids who are not that familiar with the characters or the people in the Bible, or to new believers or someone who's not a believer, or just to see, so when you see them, you'll have a little bit of background. It's like the Cliff Notes. Everybody use Cliff Notes? That's an old-time thing. If you didn't want to do the homework, you read the Cliff Notes. It gives you a summary of the chapter and the characters so you can pass your test. So this is a little bit of Cliff Note on these characters. The first person you're going to meet is Caiaphas. Say Caiaphas. Caiaphas. He was the high priest. He was the leader of the Jewish people. He was highly regarded, very well educated, an expert in the rules, and full of pride. He loved rules. He loved the law, and he made sure that everyone followed the rules. That's what was important. And then Jesus came along, and he kind of tossed the rules, and he loved people. He did miracles. He was amazing, and people started to follow him. You know, and what that made Caiaphas very angry and jealous. They weren't listening to him anymore. They were following Jesus. And you know what? Love draws, doesn't it? You can have somebody who can just be a tyrant with laws and rules. You're not going to be drawn to them. You're going to be drawn to somebody that loves you and cares about you. And that's what Jesus demonstrated with the people. So Caiaphas is jealous and angry every day. And so what did he do? Because I have to get rid of Jesus. Here's the highest level of a priest or a pastor in the church. And he goes, I have to get rid of him. Pretty scary. The next person that you're going to meet is Judas Iscariot. Who's Judas Iscariot? From any of the kids know who Judas is? Shiloh. He did. He listened to Caiaphas' plan. He was one of the disciples, and his job was what? To take care of the money. And he would pilfer it. He would steal a little bit whenever he needed it. He loved money. And what does the Bible say about money? The love of money is the root of all evil. So he had some doubts about Jesus. But then he found out an opportunity to make some money. And he took it. So he's known as the betrayer. The next one you meet is Mary. Mary was what? Jesus' mother. And like all Jewish mothers, her son was perfect. But you know what? Ironically, she was right. But you know what? She also had 6 other kids. So if you have a lot of kids, what do kids do? They blame each other. So he kind of went under the radar. It wasn't noticed. They probably blamed her for lots of things, and she didn't think twice about it. She had another revelation. She didn't have the understanding. So he got away being perfect and thinking and got blamed. And I think that was kind of a foreshadowing because he's going to get blamed for us. The next one is Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate was the ruler of Judea. And he was in charge of all the people, and he was in charge of the soldiers. And the Jewish people came and said, we got to get rid of this guy, Jesus. We don't want him here. We got to get rid of Jesus. And he goes, I can't be bothered. I don't want to be bothered with your Jewish stuff. I got this whole country to run here. But they came after him, and everybody started, no, we got to get rid of Jesus, get rid of Jesus. So he interviewed Jesus. And he goes, there's something very different about him. He's not afraid of me. I could kill him, and he's not afraid of me. And so he found that he was not a blasphemer, which, I'll skip that part. But his biggest problem was if Caesar finds out that all these people are crying out for Jesus to be crucified, I could lose my job. I could lose my life. I could lose my family. I could lose everything. Oh, I know he's kind of innocent, but, I'm sorry. I'll let the Jews decide to get rid of him. He goes, you decide. And so what do? They crucify Jesus. But you know what's said about Pontius Pilate? That the rest of his days, he constantly washed his hands, trying to clean his conscience of what he did. Our last person is Barabbas. Barabbas, kind of a crazy guy. He loved the Jews, and something happened to his life, and he hated Rome. He hated the Romans, so he decided, I'm going to do whatever I can to destroy them. It was fun. He is a murderer. The Bible says he's a murderer and an insurrectionist, but he justified his actions. He said, I can do this because of what happened to my life. And don't we justify our actions? We're all murderers in a sense, really. And actually, if you think about each one, each one is you. Mary's expectations, her great disappointment, her fear of losing her son, and look how God brings good. But so Barabbas is waiting on death row because they're going to take his life because he killed somebody. The last scene is probably the most moving for me, even as what would you be if you were at the crucifixion? What would your reaction be? Eating peanuts, somewhere, But it's just to see a man beaten beyond recognition, knowing Pontius, he's innocent, but So, at the conclusion, when you see Jesus on the cross, you have a little piece of black paper there. I want you to write one thing down, or whatever God shows you that you want to get rid of, that you want to say, this is a sin, and I do not want to do this anymore. And you put it at the cross. Then you're going to walk this way and take communion in the back. Now, if you're not a Christian, or you're backslidden, or you understand what it's all about, I will have a couple people up here that can answer your questions or pray with you, or you can receive Jesus like most of us have done here. With Jesus, you have hope, you have forgiveness, you have a clean slate. Isn't that wonderful to have a clean slate? So I'm always plagued by guilt and misery, and I don't know, and I hope this works out. And no, it's a fresh beginning, whether you're 5 or you're 95. So we got it now? Use that paper, put up there. But listen, just don't watch, I know who's playing that part. That's really great. No, use your imagination. Blur that between reality. Think, what if I was there? Let me hear what God has to speak to me. All right, so that's it. Let me get it going.
So it's Jesus of Nazareth. Nazareth? The people are shouting, clamoring, the Messiah has come. Clearly, the Jews are ignorant of their own scriptures. It was our prophet Micah who said the Messiah would come out of Bethlehem. In Bethlehem, though you are small amongst the clans of Judah, out of you will come the one who will rule over Israel, not Nazareth. Besides, we all knew of his parents, Mary and Joseph, a poor and simple couple, far from any line of influence or intelligence. Perhaps it is better that Joseph is dead, to spare him of this embarrassment. As high priest, I must do something to get rid of this impostor. Already he has led our people astray with his words and tricks. He even calls himself the Son of God. Forgive me for even repeating that. So tell me, would the true Messiah break the fourth commandment, keep the Sabbath holy, and do no work? I was there in the synagogue on the Sabbath when he healed a man with the withered hand, the woman with the twisted spine. I don't know how he did it, but I do know that he's pulling our people away from the Torah and our Jewish leaders with his words and tricks. There's a great danger brooding in our city, and there's nothing more Rome would like than to squash us like ants from under their feet. I must find a way to get rid of this Jesus of Nazareth. After all, it's better that one man die for the people than to have a whole nation perish.
Pieces of silver. 30 pieces! A fortune. Hello. Well, yes, I am one of the 12, but let me stop you right there. I helped turn him in. I brought the authorities right to Jesus. For a hefty sum. So if you have any problems, you seek that out with Peter or John, his favorites. You know, no, it's not a guess. My time with Jesus is definitely over. I just hadn't thought of it that way before. Hadn't much thought into what's next at all, actually. You know, being a follower of Jesus isn't an easy life. Between the constant roaming and the sleeping outside and those pestering crowds, I did get to learn firsthand from his stories. And I saw some amazing things. But I heard crazy things as well. Like when he said, "Eat of my flesh and drink of my blood, and you will have eternal life." Or when he said, destroy this temple of God and I will rebuild it in 3 days. 3 days! And don't get me started on how we were constantly broke. I mean, he could pull a coin from a fish's mouth, but somehow we just barely made it by. Did you know he let some woman pour precious perfume on him? Expensive perfume! She even used her hair to wipe it off of his feet. What a waste. You know, we could have sold it. We could have used it for the poor, for our travels. Heck, we could have split it. Well, how was I ever supposed to do well? How was I going to get ahead? Well, I found my way. All I had to do was just show the religious leaders where Jesus was staying at night and identify him with a kiss. Simple. When we arrived and I placed a kiss on Jesus' cheek, he turned to me and he said, friend, do what you came for. He still calls me friend? His disciple? His betrayer? But I got what I wanted, right? 30 pieces of silver.
Fear has gripped my heart. Lord, I know you know I've felt this way many times before, but this time it's different. My heart is beating harder. My fear is bigger, stronger. God, you have been so faithful to help us raise your son. It's been hard sometimes, with so much uncertainty, never knowing what was lying ahead. But I never wavered from what you asked me to do. You never promised that this would be an easy path, but you did promise that you would always be with me. Now people turn away when I walk in the streets. Voices hush, eyes dart away. I don't understand. I remember the day that we dedicated Jesus at the temple. Oh, he was just 8 days old. Oh, my heart was so full of love and joy. But that's also the day that Simeon told us that he would be the cause of the rise and fall of many in Israel, and that he would be spoken against, and that a sword would pierce my soul as well. I those words unfolding right before my very eyes. Our religious leaders, they hate him. They lie and make vicious accusations against him. But Jesus doesn't retaliate. He continues to do the work that you've given him to do. Nothing deters him. He is not afraid. Oh, I am beginning to feel the tip of that sword pressing sharply against me. You see, my friend who works at the home, as a servant of the high priest, she overheard him talking to the Pharisees how they could arrest Jesus and put him on trial for blasphemy. Blasphemy! I mean, a sin that is punishable by death. How could it be? He has done nothing but your will. Oh, Father God, please stop this evil plan. Death cannot be your plan for Jesus.
It's almost finished. Soon, peace will be settled on the streets of Jerusalem. My authority, reputation as governor of Judea remains fully intact. I wish I could say the same for my conscience. Condemning a man to death is not difficult. I've done this many times before, for lesser crimes. This particular case disturbs me. Increasingly so. The Pharisees, together with their lawyers, came to me, asked that this Jesus, some performer of miracles, be crucified for calling himself the Son of God, the King of the Jews. I do not get involved in the religious squabbles about their laws. But because of growing unrest in the city, I was forced to look into it. So I had Jesus go out privately to ask about these charges. He stood before me in total silence. Not a word came from his mouth. I told him I had the power to free him or condemn him. That word simply slipped past me, like leaves in the wind. He stood steadfast, looked straight into my eyes. He was not afraid. And when he finally spoke, he asked me if the charges were my idea. I said, am I a Jew? It was your people, your chief priest who handed you over to me. Are you the king of the Jews? I am, he said, but my kingdom is from another place. His words struck me. I trembled. I almost believed him. When I told the Jews, I found no basis of the charges against them. They refused to listen. They vehemently demanded his death, stirred up the crowd by shouting, "We have no king but Caesar! We have no king but Caesar! We have no king but Caesar!" Those words were threats. If Caesar were to hear them, it'd cost me my position. my life, my everything. No. I will allow the Jews to decide his fate. And I will wash my hands of his innocent blood.
I'm free! I'm free! Is this a dream? No. It's real! I'm sure you've heard of me. Rome calls me a dangerous criminal. A murderer! And rightfully so! Guilty as charged! Why, do you ask? I'll tell you why. Years ago, the despicable King Herod heard that the king of the Jews would be born in Bethlehem. This frightened him. And so to remove any potential threat to his throne, he ordered the slaughter of all little boys in Bethlehem, 2 years old and under. 2 years old! Yarim was 2 years old. My little brother, my shadow. He would hardly leave my side. But that day, he did. As he played outside, Roman soldiers on horseback tore down the road and speared Yamin like he was an animal. I heard him scream and ran out. But it was too late. I found him gurgling in a pool of blood. I lifted him up, and he looked into my eyes for a moment, and then slumped in my arms, dead. From that day on, I swore revenge on Rome to bring destruction in any way I could. This has been my life, and I have no regrets. Years later, I was caught, and I have sat in a dark dungeon, condemned to death. Until today. Passover. We Jews have a custom at Passover where 2 prisoners are brought before the people, and one of them is to be freed, the other to be condemned to death. I was shocked when the crowd shouted my name to be set free. Barabbas! 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 That's when I looked over and saw a man named Jesus standing next to Pilate. Oh yes, I'd heard about him. A miracle worker of some kind who did good things for the Jewish people. But why would he be here? How ironic. And me, guilty of sin, and I was set free. And this Jesus, innocent of sin, would take my place on that cross. Imagine that.